Okay, we are starting a new unit over proportions and unit rates. Monday, 11:16, we are going over solving proportions. This will relate to equations. So first off, in solving a proportion, you need to figure out what do you need to find? What don't you know? So what is missing? So what's missing from the problem? This is where your variable goes. So what's missing is your variable because you don't know it. So what do you already know? So what information do you have? Are you given a scale? Are you given dimensions? So then you go to setting up the proportion. So you'll have one unit over another unit. And that's what you're going to set them equal to. This will make sense once we look at examples. But like say one unit was miles, another unit was hour, and you were given another miles, but you didn't know your hour. So that's how you would be setting it up. So solving the proportion, you cross multiply and divide. So wherever your two numbers are diagonally, those are the two you multiply. You divide by the number that's diagonal from your variable. So an example, we have 40 miles over 30 minutes, and we want to know how many miles in 45 minutes. We would cross multiply. So the two numbers that are across from each other are 40 and 45. So 40 times 45 gives you 1,800. So you would set it equal to the number across from your variable, which is the 30. So you would times 30 with your variable, which means that's what you're going to divide by, because when we solve equations, we want our variable by itself. So 30 cancels, you're really just doing 1,800 divided by 30. So our missing is 60 miles in 45 minutes. So then you can check your answer. So substitute your answer back into the proportion and check. So when you cross multiply, they should be equal. So if you have 40 over 30, we put 60 in for x, so 60 over 45. When you multiply your diagonals, you should get the same number. So 40 times 45 gave us 1,800. 30 times 60 should also give us 1,800, which it does. So another way we can look at this when setting up a proportion, first decide what two units you are comparing: miles to minutes, degrees to hours, etc. That's how on the first page we said scalar dimensions. You write the units as a ratio. That's the fraction. You have one thing over another. So an example, you just traveled 40 miles in 30 minutes. How far will you go in 45 minutes? So, same example as the front, but we're just putting it into a word problem. So we are comparing miles and minutes. So our ratio will be miles over minutes, because they want to know how far we'll go in the 45 minutes. So look at the information you've left and identify what information is missing. So what are we trying to find? Distance in 45 minutes. So same thing as that. We have 40 miles, 30 minutes. We want to know how many in 45 minutes. So cross multiply and divide still. Then we divide by 30. X equals 60 miles. So that's another way to look at it. Be used in a word problem. Still comparing units. So this is how it compares to when we solved equations. Kind of like our inequalities that we just got finished with, but we are back to having an equal sign instead of an inequality. When you cross multiply and divide to identify the missing number in a proportional relationship, you are simply solving a one-step equation. So take a look. You cross multiply and set each product equal to one another. So 4 times 20 gave us 80. X times 16 is 16x. So once you have that, you're just dividing to get our variable by itself. And that's just like what we did in a one-step equation. So let's look at a couple more examples. And then you'll have IXL over this. So, first example, we have 12 gallons of gas costs $30. How much will it cost to get an additional 4 gallons of gas? So determine what units you are comparing. Write this as its own ratio. So we have gallons and gas. So that's what we're comparing. Gallons came first, so we're going to put gallons first. So write another ratio with the information from the problem. Set this ratio equal to the ratio from above. So we have gallons to gas with our units. So what are we actually comparing? We know we have 12 gallons compared to $30. What are we looking for? What don't we know? We don't know cost of 4 gallons. So this will give us our third ratio. So gallons to gas are our units. So we have 12 over 30. We said equal to 4 is gallons. So since gallons is at top, we're going to put our 4 on top and our variable on the bottom, because we want to know how much it costs and the money, the gas cost. Whoops, I forgot my dollar sign, gas money. So the gas cost goes on the bottom. So we cross multiply, we have 4 times 30, 120 equals 12x. And we divide by 12. So 4 gallons cost $10. Second example. Blair can make 6 dozen cupcakes in 2 hours. How many dozen cupcakes can she make if she has 4.5 hours to bake today? So determine which 2 units you're comparing. Write it as its own ratio. So our units are dozen cupcakes and time. So we have our cupcakes over time. So just like above, we're gonna write what we know. We know we can make 6 dozen cupcakes in 2 hours. So that's our time. Times on and the denominator, so 2 goes to the denominator. What don't we know? How many? So dozen cupcakes in 4.5 hours. So cupcakes, whoops, over time. We know 6 over 2. 4.5 is hours, so this time that goes to our denominator. We don't know our numerator. So we cross multiply 6 times 4.5 gives us 27. And then we have 2 times x, which is 2x. So that means we divide by 2 because that's what's with the variable. And so you can make 13.5 dozen cupcakes in 4.5 hours. So she can only make 13 full dozens and then 6 more cupcakes. So every time you cross multiply and divide, you multiply the 2 numbers that are diagonal. You divide by what's across from the variable. So that is solving proportions. On iExcel, you'll be doing J11 and J13. That goes with these notes.